Again,
Hi. What's up, Juan?
we're back live, and you're back home.
I am back home. Yes. After a whirlwind trip to Anaheim and back home to Monterey and yeah, back here in Colombia.
Nice. Yeah, I'm done with my trips, just like you. I don't think mine maybe August when I start again.
Mm.
So yeah, but excited to have a live stream. Live streams are going to be crazy this year. We almost are like back to back doing live streams.
Awesome. Yeah, it's good. Got to have good conversations and got the Pitch It series. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah. We're bringing back open mics. We'll talk more about that here. So let's not take all the time because David is waiting backstage, and I'm sure he wants to talk to us about some cool stuff. So welcome everybody. This is the Central Mafia live stream series. Like I mentioned earlier, these are weekly now. So every single Thursday, we'll have the live stream series with either a partner or one of our vendor sponsors. And also, we are hosting the Pitch It event for IT Nation. I started a few weeks ago, and they're getting ready to get the finalists announced. So make sure that you follow us on LinkedIn and on YouTube if you want to catch up with everything that's been happening. So, all right, couple of housekeeping items here before we bring Mr. David on stage. So today with us we have Aaron. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, it looks like Keith is running in the back door, so he'll be on here in a second.
There he is. Hey, Keith.
Hey,
how you doing? Turns out that StreamYard doesn't work well with an iPad, so I have to run out to my car and get my MacBook.
Oh,
all right.
Yeah, good to know.
First world problems. Yeah.
So we have Aaron and Mr. Sean's dad hosting us today. If you have not met them before, it's your loss. So, but this is now your opportunity. So, Aaron, I'll give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the community.
Yeah, I'm Aaron Waters. My company is Pumpkin Business Services. I'm an MSP, typically mostly for accountants, and based in Monterey, California, by way of Medellin, Colombia. So yeah. So I've been a part of these user groups for a very long time, and we just held our first in-person with the Central Mafia brand a couple weeks ago, and so this is our first time back on the live stream since then, and with a lot of new ideas and got the band back together. So happy to be here.
Yep, almost like re-energized.
Yeah.
After that. And where are you
Oh
at?
yeah, for sure.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Now, where are you right now?
So I'm sitting in a coffee shop. That may be part of the problem. Yeah. So I'll reduce the background noise.
How's that? You were in one of your travels.
Yeah, I was out checking on the boat, and because that's getting ready for summer. I'm Keith Nelson with Vistum Solutions. We run a small MSP here in Southern California. Best known for automating the shipping ports and working on in the aerospace industry. Most people know me as Sean Lardo's father. I'm sorry that he's turned out the way he has. My other kids are awesome.
Well, God, that you guys are here. All right. So for those of you who are not familiar with the Central Mafia, we're an MSP community built by MSPs for MSPs. So all the feedback that we get for having these live streams and all of our events comes directly from you. And our mission is to bring MSPs together through education. That's what we are doing here today, and that's what we do doing our meetups. So we want people to engage. We want your feedback and to grow your network. and be able to support each other. All right. The best way to know about what's going on with the Central Mafia is with LinkedIn. You just follow us there. You can see all of our upcoming events, all of our live streams, all of our different news. And we just launched our Facebook page and Facebook group. So if you were part of the Slack group, we're moving all that to Facebook to be able to expand and reach out to more MSPs and then have it tied to our page. So we need your help because we need enough followers on Facebook so we can live stream to Facebook. So if you are watching this, please go ahead and follow us, and we will blast you also so you can follow us there. And also the best way, as you can see down there, is our website. You can also find all those links in there, centralmafiaug.com. And this live stream and all of our live streams are saved into YouTube. So if you find anything in here that you would like to share with any of your colleagues or within your network, so make sure that you go in there, follow us, and share that. Okay, upcoming events. We're bringing open mics back. So we had those last year. Those are awesome because there's no agenda on those. It is, we just get together and let's just talk. And we have those, and Keith and Aaron, you know how this goes. We just open the room for a whole bunch of people to come in and talk, and they will
just talk shop. I mean, this was the most requested follow-up after our meeting in Anaheim. It was, it was a really good group. Most people who registered, were able to make it, and the ones who did, everyone stuck around to chat afterwards. But that was the biggest thing, is like, we're not going to see each other until September, right, for an official event, but open mics, be able to get together once a month or so, just talk about whatever the hot topic is, just kind of like have a little bit of mastermind, a little bit, maybe a little workshop of something. It's up to the, this is what the user group is for, right? So so that was the most requested thing. I think that's going to get a lot of great engagement.
Yeah,
it's something I'm really good at, aimlessly babbling about nothing. So it should be right up my alley.
I think that's one of your LinkedIn skills. I endorsed it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is during the day. So I mean, if you want to have a beverage and a cigar during this time, it's up to you. I know there's some other ones out there that are after hours. So we did have that talk one time, but we'll save that for an open mic, so we can schedule an after hours.
But open mics can lead to more of a grassroots get together, right? So we have a event that we're sponsoring in September and October. September and October, right, in Chicago and in Southern California. But no reason why, if people after a couple open mics are like, hey, let's get together for a cigar and whiskey night, and maybe it's just 8 or 9 people and just talking, again, just sort of
absolutely
trading trade secrets.
Yeah.
You had me at cigar.
Yeah. It gets me out. I'm there.
So next Thursday is the open mic, and then the following Thursday, it will be our next live stream with the MSP Alliance and the National AI Strategy. What's coming out within the laws within the government in order to have the governance of the AI. So what's happening there is going to give us some insight into that. So, all right, we cannot make this possible with the support of our sponsors. And I said I was going to fix this the last time, and we're missing the most important logo. So thank you to all of our sponsors. They are supporting this community in FEMA: Acronis, ThreadLocker, Pivotal Crew, Mobile, FlexPoint, and Augment.
And
We're
augment.
missing,
Yeah.
we're missing
Whoops.
the augment logo. It's there on the PowerPoint. So hopefully it'll be there on the last one. If not, I'm gonna be feel terrible. I'll have to like redo it and upload it again. Meetups. We have 2 meetups coming up. Aaron said that. We have one coming in September and then in October. So we're going back to Brew Ridge for the North Central meetup. And we're going to do it back in California, although there's a lot of partners that sign up and they were not able to make it. So mark your calendars and registration is open. So, and all you have to do is go to our website, click on the link, and you can register and save your spot, and it will keep you informed of all the upcoming updates for that. So, great times, and you can see some of the pictures in there from Anaheim. Nice poker night.
I thought it was a nice night.
Conversations, yes. Yeah, I'm still excited about that. And well, Lisa from Augment, she is very pumped about going back there because apparently Disney has some kind of Halloween thing going on. And so she is pumped about this. And so I'll take all the feedback.
Yeah, we were geeking out about Disney when she was there. She does beat me though. She's a much more dedicated Disney adult than I am, but I try.
Yeah. So shout out to Lisa Augment there.
And Obi, her dog. Yeah.
All right. There's the logo. See, it works. It works. It's not a bad logo. There it is. So with us today, we are very excited talking about why most MSPs struggles to scale the Microsoft 365 security. I am very interested in listening to this because I feel like this is one of those where we provide the solution and we know that a lot of things are built in, and it's like trying to take it to the next step and bringing value and bringing that recurrent revenue and be able to scale that within the Office 365. So very excited to have David here. He's an information security officer for Augment, and he brings a lot of experience into that. So I will let him into the stage and let him talk and introduce himself.
Hey, gentlemen. Thanks for having me.
David, great to have you, man.
Yeah. So I'm introduction. I'm the information security officer here at Augment. If you're seen any of our webinars we've done in the past, I've done a number of them on Microsoft best practices around security and compliance. My main job at Augment is making sure that our compliance program internally runs successfully and smoothly for our SOC audits and GDPR and things like that. But then with that background comes spending a lot of time with either prospects for Augment or our internal customers, trying to give them guidance on how to actually progress on that journey of moving from like an MSP to an MSSP and do it at efficiently so that their team doesn't get bogged down, and helping them find those catch points that we see some of the more experienced MSPs who really have their security program nailed, giving them that feedback on how to get to that point where it's no longer a burden on their team, but actually it's a easy way for them to drive revenue and with a decent profit margin.
Awesome.
I got a funny story about the MSP versus MSSP, if I could, which is off topic, but that's where I normally go.
I'm going to let Keith and Aaron lead this. I'm going to go backstage.
All right.
And we'll see you guys here in a little bit.
So I was meeting with the Attorney General of the state of California, and he asked me, he goes, why do you guys call yourself MSPs, managed service providers? And I said, because the marketing term trusted advisor didn't work. And he goes, the first use of MSP they found is about 40 years ago, a company still registered in California in business called Managed Service Providers. And what they do for a living is heating and air conditioning. And so then he asked me, he said, why do you guys want to be associated with heating and air conditioning? I go, and then he goes, by the way, what's this new thing, an MSSP? And I said, those are people with low self-esteem that needed another S in their title. So I know that's sarcastic humor. That's mine, but I just every time someone brings that up, I go, I wish they were better defined titles. Is all.
Yeah, there's no real clear definition of what makes an MSP, an MSSP, what tooling or experiences do they need to justify that title. I've seen many different flavors within companies. But yeah, like the main difference that I see between a company that, like, pretty much everyone that we talk to, they either know what they need to do to help protect their customers, especially on the Microsoft security side of things, or they know what they should be doing. And it's usually we don't know how to do it properly, or we know how to do it, but how do we do it at scale faster? Because like they just get bogged down, and having to have a Microsoft expert tech run your Defender policy, Intune's conditional access policy stack across 100 customers, that's expensive and not scalable in a way that customers are willing to pay for. Is the big battle. Trying to the example that I use is like everyone wants like a custom vehicle, like Hennessy in the States. Everyone wants like a custom Hennessy vehicle that costs $250,000 or $1 million. But really what they need is MSPs need to think of themselves more like Ford. And you're shipping an F-150. There's 6 different trim levels of an F-150, but it's the same truck for everybody. So you can make some bespoke changes, but that standardization across your entire customer base is where it's both a sales issue, communicating that to your customer about why you need to do that, but then also it's an efficiency thing on your team. When every customer is set up the same way with only minor changes, it makes it a lot easier to onboard people to that program, but then also maintain it as well as Microsoft
Good
adds.
points.
Yeah.
First of all, I think everyone wants a AMG SL performance, but that's just me.
Yeah.
No, that's what I just bought myself. So when you talk about scaling up, I would say that we need to look at it as scaling down too. And I'd like to bring, I think so often as IT providers, whatever name we want to give ourselves, we focus so much on the cost of tools and don't look at the cost of labor, which far outweighs the cost of tools. So someone says, why do I want to pay X number of dollars per seat to manage this when I could do it manually? And I always argue, have you looked at the cost to do that manually in labor hours and the amount of time that pulls you away to really delivering that high quality, what I call in our business, in our company, Nordstrom or Disney level of service, because you're busy playing with background stuff that no one really knows about. It's important. It's important for compliance, but it's not important to the end user on what he sees on his day-to-day productivity. So I think when we always worry about scaling up, I think there's a case to even be made for smaller MSPs to really take a closer look at their tools and quit focusing on tool costs and look at labor savings.
Yeah, it's a kind of a conversation that I know that our sales team have on, and I'm not trying to pitch Augment, but exactly that of like, how much is this tool going to save your team over the month? If a technician can save 5 hours in a month with it and you're paying them $30 an hour, that's savings. And you multiply that across your team. Does that offset the cost? And sure, 5 hours across a month is not a lot of hours total. But does that offset the cost? Is I know personally that's something that I've had to change my thinking around when I'm looking at new software as well.
And not only is it the delivery time, there's key management studies that say for every hour of support delivery in IT, there's 10 minutes of training. So you have to throw that in too. Mm-hmm. Just to keep up to date on what I need to do within, the Microsoft 365 whole big, all the different components, you're going, I'd have to dedicate a lot of hours, and I'd rather have you spend that money.
My inbox is full of Microsoft notifications for feature updates, security updates around different breaches, compliance framework changes. It's a never-ending fire hose of trying to keep up with it. Being able to delegate tasks down that shouldn't be so complicated is really important. And then being able to do that whole audit, detect, and protect cycle of what is the current state of a enter environment or your customer security posture. Being able to then do that at a regular cadence. You can do it with like, you can PowerShell script it, and you can build your own internal graph app to build it. But doing it at scale, even with that, it still takes time per month. If you wanted to ask, like, how many of your customers have a certain feature turned on, and try to do that manually, even 5 minutes at a time, jumping through each portal, which sometimes takes even more than 5 minutes to get in, sometimes is a process. And that goes back to the moving away from custom built everything to standardizing. And just to completely reiterate on, like, or to hammer that point home, as soon as you start standardizing on this is what our customer looks like, and I mean that from the entire stack, from like Entra licensing, is if you're an MSP that has a diverse range of licensing, if one customer has an issue, it's really hard for you to then say, oh, here's the fix for that issue. We're going to deploy that fix to everybody else so no one has that problem again. Because you can't solve the same thing with Business Basic like you can with the Premium 2 or E5 license. If you go conditional access policy, or maybe it's an Intune solution. So standardizing on licensing, but then also standardizing on the framework. Going back to that opening point I had of MSPs, they know what they should be doing. They don't necessarily know exactly what to do. There are a ton of different frameworks that you can go out and standardize on that tell you exactly these are the security measures you need to have in place. And that gives you that backstop to then say, hey, Mr. Customer, you are in this industry. We're going to align you with this framework, and that's going to cover you based off of the compliance regulations in your space. And it just makes that whole conversation a lot easier. You now have the bad cop saying, hey, you have to do this, giving you a little bit of relief from as their MSP, because you're telling them, hey, we actually need to bump you up to a P2 license. It's going to cost you more per user. But then you can backstop it as like it's a regulatory issue that we're trying to solve.
I hope I'm not hijacking your talking points, but I like the path you went. I like the path you went down. We like to run our MSP. Our goal is to have 1.5 million per staff in recurring revenue. And we do that through standardization. And a lot of it, we don't even offer anything but 7x24, but 365 help desk, because we don't want to get in that argument of, oh, you called it 501. No, I called it 459. But the biggest point is it's easiest for us to deliver the service level and to if everything's standard. I don't have to go, oh, your customer A, you're on this program, your customer B, you're on everyone's on the same program, on the same stack. And then as far as scaling, and with all due respect to you as a vendor, I go, I'm going to make scaling your problem, not mine. Yeah. It's your problem to keep up with all the Microsoft notices. It's your problem to
absolutely
to change your software as much as you need, or to change how we implement this and to conform with everything. It's your problem to change your reporting so we're in compliance. And I'll worry about the things that make that help enhance my customers' business outcomes. And that's really what they'll pay us for. If I was to say I'm going to secure your Microsoft infrastructure and go through everything it entails, about 2 minutes into that conversation, the customer's going to roll his eyes. In 3 minutes, he'll be snoring. And you're going, those aren't the things you get credit for, but they're required. The things you get credit for is when you're helping your customer lift the things in their different verticals in their business that directly affect their income, like implementing new accounting systems, like helping them be more efficient on the road, like helping them open new offices. And we go,
Yeah.
that's what we get paid for. And I go, I'll let you do the headache and pay you to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same reason why like your customers go to an MSP to begin with. They have technical problems. They just want to offload. They want to focus on building their accounting business, or they're a physiotherapist growing their clinic, or they're a bank, whatever they are. They want to focus on what they do best. You as an MSP want to focus on what you do best. So delegate that out to a vendor or a consulting, or like just a different group. Is just exactly that, just a way to scale if that solution's able to address what your issues are for scaling. And that's the real value of what any of the like Augment or any Entra management platform brings you, is that ability to just take your mind off of that compliance side or that auditing or security side, and know that things are going to be set up the way you set them up, standardized, and then you'll be told if there's any changes. I had a call with an MSP out of Ohio, I think it was 2 months ago, and he was asking me about safe harbor laws. And I think Ohio was one of the first states to bring those up. But there's 7 of them now. California, I know, is one. I can't remember the other handful. I didn't pull it up in my notes. But if you're able to demonstrate that you are following a specific compliance standard and you have a breach that causes downtime or loss of revenue or a ransomware attack that they end up paying out, that is either that company's or you as an MSP, that is your legal defense should there be a lawsuit against you. And the safe harbor laws say that, yeah, that's a completely valid legal defense. And I'm sure like it's kind of one of those things like where California leads, the rest of the states kind of follow.
Exactly. There's 5 states. I was going to bring that. There's 5 states, if they legislate something, the rest of the country does. California, New York, Illinois, Florida, and I forgot the 5th. But when we do that, when I tell people, they go, "That's not my state yet," and I go, "Coming soon." And I go, it doesn't matter if what California did was smart or stupid. People follow it. The safe harbor law is a pretty good law if you really dig into it and you really discuss it and relate it to your MSAs, to your statements of work and your delivery, and you get your delivery consistent. And I'll let you argue with me if you think I'm wrong, but my interpretation of it is you must be consistent in the service you're claiming to deliver to claim that protection. I can't just say, I'm protecting your Office 365 and then use one of the products. There's many products out there that'll audit it for you, but not correct it or suggest corrections. So you're actually ingesting data that tells you you're out of compliance. And the fear with smaller MSPs, for me at least, would be that gets lost somewhere in your system. And you've actually, by not having an agent that actually helps fix those things, you're actually going to stop your protection under the safe harbor because you know of something you're not fixing. So it's important that you align your tools with something that's making the suggestions for repairs and also helping you make those changes and implement them into production.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if anybody's not gone through a compliance audit themselves, like we do our SOC audit here annually, I imagine using that as a defense for a lawsuit would be a similar process where they're going to go through every single piece of data that they can and ask you specific questions of like, why wasn't this user offboarded within a fixed time frame as per your policy? Oh, well, we missed that ticket and we got to it 3 days later. Oh, that's an exception. That's a violation that's going to stack up. So it can be really small things that these auditors, and I'm sure that the lawyers suing would pick up and really kind of hammer on. So you want to have a system that's able to audit you consistently, regularly, and often. Internally, we use a tool called Vanta for our compliance auditing. It hooks into pretty much every system. I'm not sure if anybody here has played with it yet. It's very expensive. It's in the tens of thousands of dollars a year for a single company. So it's not, it's more of an enterprise level single operator versus something built for the MSP. And so that's what we've focused on for 2026 is how can we help MSPs with this compliance need as these laws come out, and also to help with that conversation, both to your point, Keith, of standardizing on revenue, being able to have the conversation with your customer saying, hey, you are a company that you're building schools, for example. You're working with the Department of Education. 2026 CMMC compliance becomes a requirement for everybody working with the US government. We need to make sure that you are compliant with CMMC. That's going to require a P2 license across everybody. All of a sudden now you're reselling P2 licenses to everybody at that company. And you're able to, at the same time, reduce the workload of managing that compliance lift to a platform. So you have that efficiency on the manpower, but then also the boost in revenue of moving them from a business basic license to a P2 license or whatever that transition looks like.
Yeah, we use Trust Cloud because that scales lower, but it's along the lines of what we're using, but just not as expensive. I was introduced to Augment by Lisa after she had me watch her dog. But I understand that's kind of just an inside joke. I understand one of the big differences of your company is you don't just report what's wrong. You help get those gaps filled. I think there's a pretty good handful of products out there that'll audit Intune, will audit your domain, will audit your rules and your conditions, but very few of them are out there helping correct them and make them and align them in compliance. Is my understanding true? Or
we do our very best to make sure that all of the posture checks that we build have the ability for us to have a configure action on it. Going back to our tool Vanta internally, it does just that. It just audits and it lets you know, hey, this is wrong, go fix it. And it'll tell you how to fix it. And that's fine because we're just one company. But if you're an MSP managing 100 companies, even 10 companies, and every other day there's something that needs fixing, that's a time-consuming process to go into each and every each portal, find, is it the admin center, is it the Entra portal, is it in the Defender, or is it Intune? Which sub menu is it? What radio button do you have to click to make sure that it actually flips to compliant? And then checking it again on the audit to make sure it actually reflects correctly. So we really tried to take that lift and build something that lets MSPs be a lot more efficient at getting people to a compliant state. From user management, offboarding users, especially users that we flag users who haven't been logged in 30 plus days, consider them inactive. Obviously that's something that you want to catch and remediate, so you can do that in the app. But then also all the nitty gritty security stuff around Defender policies or conditional access or we have 100 and something different checks that you can configure to tailor to either the compliance that you're trying to meet or a bespoke one for your customer.
And there's also a when you bring on a new client, there's that's more of like looking at what you have, but when you bring on a new client, isn't there a way of having, because this has been, this whole discussion about like standardization with 365 has been a giant problem for MSPs ever since Office 365 first became, and it's just been this cat and mouse game. It's so frustrating because you're like, there are some clients who need a little bit more bespoke setup on their 365, right? And they're not, you can't put unless maybe you're more of like a vertically focused, but even then every client, has got that one power user who needs a little extra,
That's why you build the F-150 and offer different trim levels and.
Right. So, but bringing on a new client, much easier to instead of like, okay, here's our onboarding process. We got a 80-point checklist. Engineer goes and does all that. Augment can make that a lot more of a like templated, templated thing. Which there's not much. That's a huge gap that I think a lot of MSPs had a lot of issues with. And I think to what Keith's talking about with like labor and all that kind of stuff being part of the tool value is like, with each new client, it just adds more of that. Like you got to keep eyes on it, and it's like we all know. I mean, onboarding a client properly, we never charge what we should. There's always all this. It's an iceberg to the client, right, of what's actually happening versus what they see. So,
yeah, and it's hard to exactly that, like justify the experience that you've built over the years, either personally or within your team, of why are you clicking that checkbox in Microsoft and what is it actually going to do to help protect them, and be able to justify that and then charge for that at a reasonable level that customers will accept. And that goes back to like, that's where MSPs struggle to scale, because they'll add customers, which is great. They're increasing revenue, but at the same time, their costs stay the same. And so if they're making $100,000 of profit here, and then they move up to here, it's still $100,000 in profit.
Right.
Even though they've tripled their customer base, they've had to hire 10 new techs to handle that. And if they're having,
and as business owners, if we add top line, we want to make sure, we want to see that go to the bottom line somewhat, right?
Yeah.
We want, we don't want to add, $1 million in top line and be making the same net profit. It's like, well, what's the point? Might as well just have less work and make the same money, right?
Exactly. Oh, so it's a pyramid scheme. I get it now.
Exactly.
More money, more problems, really.
And it comes down to being able to delegate that down to people who don't have that Microsoft experience. Like hiring a level 3 technician or someone who has years of Microsoft experience, it's going to demand a higher salary, which is great, and they should be paid what they're worth.
Yeah.
But if you have a platform that's able to simplify the Microsoft security work in a way that's set up so they can't make mistakes, or it's harder for them to make mistakes or miss things, you're able to delegate that down to your level 1 technicians or your level 2 technicians who are just getting their feet wet in the compliance side of things, rather than, and they're now able to take on a lot more work, saving the really valuable time like yours, Aaron, and Keith's, to actually growing the business versus in Microsoft hell.
Yeah.
Well, and we also have to remember that Microsoft has a hobby they really enjoy when they get something working that you understand, is to now change it. Like it feels like just when you learn, you log in and go, do you want to go back to the legacy screen or use this new improved screen, which only means we moved everything to somewhere you can't find it.
And every portal has a different design language. Entra is different than the admin center, different than the partner center.
Yeah.
Even their own documentation doesn't even keep up with that sometimes. And the biggest, the coolest surprise is when you go and you just quote a client a bunch of stuff, and then you go to set them up, and Microsoft has moved that license to another bundle, and now you're like having to go back and either eat some crow or eat some margin,
Yeah.
That's but I mean that actually has happened a lot less, but that has been a leg. There's all these fun things to deal with Microsoft.
Yeah, or they add a cool feature to one license that, I mean, I really do think that they should expand. Like they should, I think, get rid of security defaults, expand conditional access to business basic, but maybe drop the feature set of your business basic conditional access policies.
Yeah,
kind
they gatekeep that.
P1, P2.
The fact that they gatekeep that at the higher levels and then force you to say, well, you just got to use security defaults instead. It's like it just limits your ability to actually set up a client the way you want.
Yeah.
Or you're like, well, they really might have to light a cigarette with a cruise missile just to have decent security. Right.
Yeah.
Overkill of like maybe they don't need that. It's still better than Google, right? I don't know if you deal with Google licensing, it's much worse. But like I would agree. If I don't know, is there even like ideas of that? Do you think that they'll bring that?
No, because
that benefits down to the lower levels.
It's like why Apple prices the stuff that they do when you're looking at the cheapest iPhone, and then the next one's just a little bit more, like the feature that you want is just a little bit more. Then once you get to there, it's just a little bit more. It's just price laddering. And they know, and I don't mean this in a derogatory like statement, because I think everyone agrees like a P1, P2 license is going to be the better way to provide security, but they know that any serious security focused business is going to just insist on that P1, P2, E35 license. And you may never be able to pull a customer from basic to that higher license, and that's life. But I think they just realize.
Well, I speak so. The majority of my client base are small offices between 5 and 10 people who are in the accounting industry, and so it's not always. And in the past, my last MSP, we had larger clients with bigger, like they demanded that level of they wanted all the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
So but it's not always is easy to make it so obvious that they should have business premium or whatever. So it's sort of this sort of kaleidoscope of we got to have the P1s on here and you'll have business premium, whatever. So it's a lot more of used to be, I just say, hey, everyone got this E3 or business premium, and everyone, I didn't have to worry about it. So that's why I ask of if there was, any kind of, Microsoft doesn't really cater to the micro business, so I'm not really going to hold my breath.
No, they don't really care about it. I mean, I have this conversation with people about picking the licenses and the framework that you land on. The way in which if you're translating it to the physical world, if you are a physical security company and you're saying, hey, we're going to protect this coffee shop, they don't need armed security and biometric fingerprint scanners and cameras everywhere. That's for a Raytheon or a pharmaceutical company. They need a lock on their door and maybe a monitored alarm. So right sizing it there, maybe those companies don't need a P1 license or a P2 license with risk-based conditional access policies and 9 yards. So there's definitely a legitimate reason for those.
Well, that actually comes into how the MSP manages them, because that's where you start to get into all the different ways of which the client has no idea of why we're even chopping that up.
Why are we pulling those levers?
But you're right. To the users, you're right. You'd probably be fine with security defaults and some basic licensing. But when you start to have how you manage them as a global admin, then that's when it gets back to that sort of whether it's through the partner record, however you're going to do that,
That's actually that wasn't even in my kind of notes for the topic, but another area that people I think struggle to scale is the way in which they manage their access to their customers' environment. Mm-hmm. People use the partner center kind of, but they don't really know how to use it properly. I did a whole webinar on that back in November of assigning security groups to your team to delegate access. So that way you don't have to create 100 shared accounts in everyone's environment. Microsoft doesn't want the MSP anymore to have a global admin in their customer's account. That's why they created the partner center and the GDAP relationships the way they did. Because ultimately the customer themselves should be the only owner of that tenant. And you can request global admin privileges through the partner center and use that to get in to do any things that need global admin rights. But even using the partner center, I think anybody who's had any time experiencing it, it sucks. It's sometimes super slow, not responsive. We've internally here, we use the API to build into customers' environments for the application that we use. And sometimes the partner center just has an outage that isn't on Microsoft Health dashboards. But they do want you to be using the partner center to get in. And that's where a multi-tenant platform like Augment resolves that efficiency. And
because now you're doing everything through the Graph API and not through a delegated permission account or the partner center, whatever that partner center account,
or you're not doing a shared account. Like if you are an MSP who has a password manager that people use to log in, you've protected yourself in some way that way. But if you have a MSP at customer.com account that everyone's using, it's really hard to tell, was it Aaron who went in to disable that conditional access policy, or was it Keith? Right. And doing that auditing of something went wrong with them, who happened, who did it, when and where.
Because to be compliant, you're right, to be compliant, that has to be recorded as well.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
The administration smoking guns as well as the user smoking guns or whatever.
Exactly. And it's there's so many different things, but in the name of efficiency, because it's going back to that whole labor conversation, you want to reduce the labor cost as much as possible, make your team faster. People just stick that global admin account in that shared password manager and give everyone access. Or they are using the partner center, but they still request that global admin relationship on the partner center, so everyone has a global admin access.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone talks about the defense in depth kind of castle metaphor of building layers of security for your customer's environment to protect them. But if I'm a malicious actor, I'm not going to go after your customer. I'm going to go after the MSP managing them, similar to how it wasn't the customers who got breached when the SolarWinds attack. It was SolarWinds themselves, because breach one, you get access to 100 or 1,000. And I think that's another area that the MSPs who have a really strong security program and have everything organized and structured and have playbooks, they really understand that least privileged access philosophy and own it for their customers and for themselves. And I think that's an easy tell to differentiate where people are on that journey. I don't think that's the first thing that people need to do necessarily, but I think it's definitely one of the things as an MSP to check on, like, how is it that we're actually doing things securely, and how can we make it more efficient at scale?
Yeah, and Microsoft actually they went off pure numbers. You have too many global admins, and you're going like, they almost encourage the bad practice of sharing accounts.
Yeah.
Right? You're going like, I don't think they understood when they made that, they understood our delivery, which you'd rather have everyone have their own so you could have some accountability and to have some audit capability. But they start saying, oh, you have more than 5, and so it's almost like they encourage bad behavior.
Yeah, and that's like they're trying to push people over to using the GDAP relationship with security groups connected to better manage the roles there. But yeah, it's all just part of the scaling problem. How can we deliver our services more efficiently to reduce our labor costs, to meet the customer's demands? It's a never-ending problem with Microsoft, which is, that's why we all exist as a company, the MSP and us.
Honestly, it gives us lots of value. Like Microsoft's absolute hellish complexity and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it kind of. We all probably wish it was just way simpler, but to be honest, the amount of consulting. I used to be in a group with a company. It was just a husband and wife and a few other people, and their industry was they did Microsoft 365. They did when large private equity when they would merge multiple assets together or do big acquisitions, they would be the ones that they would go to hire to then bring 2 different Microsoft 365 or a Google in a 365. Now that is just when you have hundreds or thousands of user accounts on either side. You need a real pro, a real experienced consultant to handle that, because that can be an absolute
this has been a great conversation. I see Ed McMahon in the background sitting there telling us it's time to kind of start wrapping up. And so, Dave, how can people get in contact with you and maybe follow up with questions they have? Or
if they want to reach out to me.
I think it'd be interesting to tell them how to see some of those webinars you said you've done, if they're posted somewhere.
They are all available on our website. Let me just get the right link. It's augment.com/webinars. I'm not sure if I can post it in a chat, maybe the comments page.
On LinkedIn might be the best. On the LinkedIn.
All right. Augment.com/webinars has our webinar schedule of upcoming ones, and you can click through. There's a number of them that we've done. And then if you want to reach out to me, david.haynes@augment.com. Or you can reach out to the support team if you or support@augment.com. They'll connect us up. And happy to have any conversations around at least my opinion of where efficiencies can be made, and how to improve, like, as an MSP, the workflow to make it easier both on your team and your customers.
That'd be great. And we'd love to have you out at one of our Central Mafia meetings in Chicago. They night before they have a mixer with cornhole, because they're kind of rednecks back there. And then on the West Coast, we have cigars and poker the night before, and we'd love to take your money.
There's no money. For legal purposes, there's no money exchanged.
That's right. I sometimes have to worry about my sarcasm because people may take me seriously. But no, it'd be great, and I think you sound like a great educational resource for our community, for people to kind of learn what happens behind the curtains. I think there's a value in us learning what you're doing, just not doing it, right? So it's like let what's happening behind the wizard's curtain, but let's close it again because we don't want to see it. So
exactly, yeah. I'm happy to jump on any other calls you want to have me on, and then I can look at chat with the team about doing a Central Mafia Augment meetup at one of the events.
Perfect.
Be great.
So let's get Juan back in here, Johnny Carson, and have him do his spiel. And he has some slides on all our next meetings and our next webinars and everything that's coming up.
I will let Simon and just send those over there on the banner for all of our next meeting. So the next one, it's in September 17th over in Chicago, and then October 8th back in California. So all that information is on our website, Central Mafia.
And then how often are our online webinars again? Every other Thursday? I forget the schedule.
Every week.
Every Thursday.
Every Thursday we have something going on, and then also every Tuesday the Pitch It live stream takes place. So
and that's going to be interesting as it starts to scale down. It's actually a proud father moment for me to see Sean finally accomplish something. But it really gets interesting in the Pitch It as they start interviewing the individual vendors, and you get to see sometimes companies in their infancy that you end up using in a short time. I find those interesting to watch.
Yeah,
and once in a while I'll comment in the comment section.
Had Alex this past Tuesday, last year's winner, and to talk about his whole experience. So he's like, great opportunities for a lot of vendors to participate and get in the space. So looking forward to those. Tuesdays and Thursdays we have live streams, and then just they're all on our LinkedIn page.
Oh,
if you want to stay
great. And just so everyone knows, we have vendors on, but like this one, we had someone that was here really educating us and helping us how to run our business more efficiently, and really not doing the commercials and the sales. And I think that's what makes us different. Yeah, I think that's what makes us different is we're trying to make MSPs learn from each other and get better at our service delivery. And
anybody
you
who
can get some of your.
I would say 70 or 80% of them, of the content, it's not a pitch. It's usually us showing you things in Microsoft. We don't like doing webinars as pitches.
And we appreciate that. And for all the people watching, if you like what you saw, we'd like you to share and invite your friends and really grow this group. We're trying to grow it in the Chicago area, which is the original Mafia, and the West Coast, which we're the new wave. So either way, come and join us and get involved, and we'd like to grow this group.
Yeah, we would love to have you and love to connect with everybody. So, all right, we're right at almost at time. So, David, thank you so much. It was great to Great to meet you. Great to have you here. Great
Great
conversations.
to be here.
And great information. Like Keith said, education there for all MSPs, because I'm sure we're all seeing these different struggles and different ways to approach it. So.
Yeah, and it's a never-ending thing with Microsoft. And there's so many different ways to solve problems with Microsoft that I'm still learning. Like, I don't think anybody can say, "Oh, I've learned everything." So,
All right.
Yeah.
thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
All right.
Nick, already. Aaron, Keith, David, thank you. We'll see you
Yeah,
guys.
man.
Cheers.
See you next time.